There have been many times in my life where I have loved someone and that love was unrequited. Coming from a background of having low self-esteem and no sense of self-worth, I always turned to myself and asked, why am I not lovable? Along this journey of healing and restoration, I've come to realize that not only was I lovable then, but I am lovable and I am loved now. And unfortunately, so many women live their lives feeling unloved and unworthy of love. But no need to worry. Join me, your host, Alyssa Khadija, here on the Girl I Got You podcast as we dive into the concept of love and begin to break down the walls that has kept us safe from the pain of loving and being loved. Hello again, lovely ladies. Welcome back to another episode of the Girl I Got You podcast. Of course, I am your host, Alyssa Khadija, and I am simply here to encourage, empower, and enlighten women. With Valentine's Day coming up, I wanted to do this episode to encourage you all to begin redefining what love looks like and feels like to you. And before we get into it, I just want to take a moment of vulnerability here and say that I am so bummed about TikTok getting banned in the United States. I currently, and unfortunately for this sake, live in the United States. And I just think that this is one of the dumbest and most arbitrary laws that have ever been passed in my lifetime, per se. I mean, TikTok is not bothering anyone. And I don't believe that the government is really concerned about our information and our data, because if they were, they would also ban companies like AliExpress, Alibaba, Temu, and Shein, and the thousands of Chinese-owned businesses that are right here operating in the United States. I think it absolutely sucks. I think so many people, including myself, are going to lose a cultural icon. We're going to lose our voice, our community, the followers that we've built up. And personally, I'm just so sad because I built my FYP brick by brick. Like, I have been brought so much entertainment, so much laughter, so much information, breaking news, community, and camaraderie on TikTok. So I am just shattered and heartbroken, and I know so many people are. But do not worry, we are going to make it through, and I am just keeping my fingers crossed and sending out a prayer that some way, somehow, even though they might temporarily go dark on the App Store or go dark, on people's accounts, that something will happen, and we will actually get to keep our beloved app TikTok. So, without further ado, there are so many people that are walking around believing, or at the very least thinking, that they do not deserve love because of some flaw or some shortcoming or imperfection. They are not worthy of love. So a good example of that would be, okay, well, I weigh 250 pounds, but I don't think anybody could really like me or love me until I'm 120. And it's unfortunate because I wish people knew that you are worthy of love, period. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to do anything for it. You don't have to perform an audition or prove yourself worthy. You are simply worthy of love. And I will say that childhood trauma, neglect, abandonment, heartbreak, disappointment, and a myriad of life's moments have left so many people broken and scarred and with a very skewed sense of what love is. So in today's episode, my intention is to dispel the misconceptions of what love is or what we think it is and clarify what it isn't. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before we define what love is, we must define what love is not. So number one, love is not abuse. No matter how many times people try to gaslight you and convince you that abuse is love, it will never be love. And this can include anything like being called names, being degraded, being physically or sexually abused and violated, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, being isolated, and anything else that falls under the category of abuse. If someone is hurting you and harming you, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, or anything in between, that is not love. I don't care how many times your parents or your toxic boyfriend tells you that, you just have to stick it through because love isn't easy. No, they're just abusers. So that, and then number two is love is not painful. Again, in spite of what other people might tell you, that love is pain, it is not. I get it that you might love somebody, whether it's a child or a family member or a spouse, partner, even a pet. And when we have a loss, say one of those people or things pass away, I get it. That can be painful. But while they are alive, the love that they give you should not be painful. And I'm going to go into a little detail explaining why so many people believe that love is something that is painful and traumatic. Number three, love is not scary, nor is it uncertain. Unfortunately, abandonment, especially in our childhoods, or abuse in our childhoods, cause so many to believe that love is uncertain, that it is violent, and that it is withheld constantly and removed unexpectedly. Love does not scare you. It's not something that is there to terrorize nor terrify you. And it's also not supposed to be uncertain, whereas you're not sure when it'll come, when it'll go. You're always on eggshells. And if you want more details on that, please go and check out the episode that was recently done on anxious attachment and how to heal from that. And lastly, love is not sex. I'm going to say that again. Love is not sex. Many people think that lust and sex are the same thing as love because both of those things bring a level of intimacy. However, someone can have sex with you and not feel any emotion for you, especially men. So you wonder why they're able to sleep with you or chase you in the beginning, and then when they get your body, they start acting different. They start, pulling away. They might even go as far as to ghost you. This is because they never loved you. See, I know back in the day, it was like, let's get it on and let's make love and whatever. But we live in a very different time period and dating landscape, if you would. Someone could have sex with you now and stab you later. Like, it's just so crazy. So sex is not love. No matter how good it feels, no matter how much lust and chemistry that you're feeling in that moment, it is not love. And you would be wise to know the difference because so many of us women, we settle for sex when what we're really craving is just intimacy. And intimacy and sex are not synonymous. You settle for sex, but what you really want is affection. But because so many of us came from broken homes, we think that the only way that we can get affection is through sex. And that's why so many people are addicted to it. So I want you to know that those things that I just mentioned, among many others, are not love. And we have to see that the foundation of love and where it started all comes from the home. As we grow and mature and heal and create a new foundation of love, we start to accept different things. We start to require different things. And unfortunately, there's so many people who will never mature nor heal or grow and start redefining love. And unfortunately, the same nonsense that they've been dealing with is just going to persist. As an adult, it is your responsibility to change things in your life, and love is no different. So I want to touch on how childhoods and family dynamics actually teach us what love is, how it feels, and what it looks like. And they also teach us how to love others. When we grow up in a dysfunctional or broken home, love has the tendency to look and feel very volatile. It's hostile, it's angry, it's painful, traumatic, and it's so many other harmful characteristics, if you would. And these different characteristics cause us to have a skewed perspective and definition of love. And when we now become adults, we tend to choose partners that reaffirm those same perspectives and definitions of love that we adopted in childhood. And it also reaffirms those experiences that we experienced in our childhood as well. So, what do I mean by that? If your dad was an absent father and you loved him so much, but he was never there as a little girl, if you don't heal that and address that, you grow up and then you find yourself being attracted to and loving men who are never consistent in your life and who are always coming and going, or if you would, leaving and returning the same way that your father did, right? If you, and I'm just speaking from a woman's perspective, if you had a mother who was very critical and judgmental of everything that you did, maybe your physical appearance, your weight, whatever have you, you would then grow up into a woman who is attracted to and remains friends with women who are very shady, women who are not authentic, that are fake, who are always judging you and criticizing you. So this is what I mean when I say that in childhood, we adopt our perspective and definitions of what love is. Me, I always used to want to be, as a kid, I always wanted to be friends with girls who did not like me. And I wasn't sure why that was, but in myself, I had this belief that this is the best that I can get. They are so cool and so pretty, and I would be lucky to even be accepted into their friend group. So even in situations when they would tell me so blatantly, like, hey, we don't like you, we don't want to be your friend, they would pick on me and stuff like that at the different schools that I would go to, I would then turn in and internalize that and say, wow, like I must be broken, I must be cursed, like there has to be something wrong with me, why they don't want to be friends with me, not knowing that I didn't need them to be my friend. And it is because I did not respect myself and I didn't love myself at the time as a kid that they were not able to love nor respect me as well. And I'm not blaming myself for other people being mean and being bullies. But what I'm saying is that because of how I observed love and what I believed that it was, I allowed myself to be mistreated by other people just to feel a part and to feel loved. And if you don't know about my background, I have immigrant parents. So my parents are from two different countries outside of the United States. And if you know the immigrant way. It doesn't matter what kind of immigrant that you are, whether you are from the Middle East, the Caribbean, Africa, Asia. A lot of us kids that grew up in America with parents that are immigrants, love was not something that was expressed very often. You knew that your family loved you by the way that they prepared meals and by the way that they would, like, I don't know, throw a slipper at your head or whatever. When you try to hug them, they'll like look at you like, get off of me. I mean, it's just affection and love, as we would call it. It just wasn't something that was expressed. You knew the love was there, but there was also a lot of dysfunction, a lot of abuse, a lot of turmoil, a lot of trauma in so many different immigrant backgrounds. And all of that caused us to have a very skewed and really undefined perspective of what love actually was. I mean, how do you define something that you cannot see? So there are things that, and if I may break it down, there are things that are subconscious in our minds, right? Especially as children. And when we observe our family as children, Subconsciously, we believe that our family unit is what love looks like, regardless of, how that family dynamic is actually playing out. Because sometimes you might hear the word I love you. It's like an innate and natural thing to know that family means love, right? Like Ohana means family and family sticks together. But what happens when your family is toxic? What happens when you have abusers or people who are dysfunctional in your family? That, whatever you observed as a child, you would look at that and think that that is love when it's actually just dysfunction. So when I got older, my lack of clear definition of what love looked and felt like to me caused me to look for love, and I ended up finding myself in romantic situations that were shitty, might I add, toxic friendships and relationships that gave me but a spoon of water when what I needed was the ocean. And simply putting it, no one was ever really able to give me the love that I needed and that I was so desperately looking for. And I'm going to touch on that and how it relates to God's love, because people can only love you at their capacity. There are some people who can only love you as much as they know what love is, right? And I'm not faulting them. Of course, they're doing their best, but as individuals, sometimes we need a deeper love. So I'm going to touch on that later on in the episode. Um, so all of this caused me to like get my heart broken time after time after time after time. I mean, I would literally pour all of my love into someone only to be left broken and jaded and disappointed. And honestly, there came a time in my adult life where I really started to hate love, because to me, love was very painful. It was traumatic. It just was not fun. Like, it wasn't the love that I thought that I wanted or that I needed or that I was going to get. And so I hated love. I closed up and put the walls up. Granted, I was still going on dates and still looking for the love, but I wasn't open to it. And it's so crazy because, like, how are you looking for love yet not open to receive it? This is why I say it is so important to address your issues, address your traumas, and not act out of trauma, but out of love, out of reflection, out of healing, out of inspiration, right? And speaking of inspiration, I wanted to share this quote with you guys from Home Alone 2. If you are a 90s kid, I mean, I think everybody likes Home Alone, but I'm so shocked even to this day. Like, Christmas just went by, and I was so surprised at the amount of people who have never seen Home Alone, let alone Home Alone 2, like the best one. But nonetheless, there's like this part of the movie when Kevin is in Central Park, and I think he had just ran away from the Plaza Hotel and it's dark outside. And there is like the bird lady who is feeding the birds with seeds and stuff like that. And he gets his foot stuck in a rock, and she like reaches out to him and he's like screaming his head off, thinking she's about to hurt him. But she was just trying to help. And then when he ran away, he stopped and was like, why isn't she chasing me? And long story short, they start having a conversation, and the woman starts telling Kevin about how she was in love. And I think she was like engaged, and her partner ran out on her and never came back. And she was so hurt and broken and devastated by that. She just fell off the wagon and some way, somehow became a woman homeless and, living on the street. And Kevin, being young but very wise, he asked her this question. Well, what is the point of having a heart if you're not going to use it anyway? So I pose that question to you. What is the point of having a heart if you're not going to use it anyway? It wasn't until I began to define what really love meant to me and what it actually felt like that my life actually took a turn. I took inventory at the times and the situations that I actually felt loved. Like if I was to define love, and this is what I would ask myself, like if I was to define love or ask myself what it feels like, what does love feel like? And so in doing that, I attached two faces to what love felt like, and I'm going to explain that. My cousins, I have two cousins, right? I mean, I have lots of cousins, lots of family, but I have two cousins in particular. They are both in their 30s, and I look to them as big sisters. So one is on my mom's side, and one is on my dad's side. For the sake of protecting their identity, I'm going to call one cousin Coco and one cousin Chanel. See what I did there? Very demure. But Coco and Chanel have been an integral part in my young womanhood. They have been the big sisters that I didn't have because I am a firstborn daughter. So a lot of the time, so much responsibility and expectations are put on us as first daughters. But with Coco and Chanel, I look at them as big sisters because they are really there for me. And when I think of what I feel love is and what love feels like to me, Coco and Chanel are the standard. And of course, I love my family. I love my parents to life. I love my mom and my dad and my other family members to pieces. But I think that there are different levels of trust when it comes on to love, and that's okay. For example, I trust Coco and Chanel with my heart. I can't say that I trust everybody with my heart and my deepest, darkest secrets and, things that are really close to me and important to me because they have shown me over time that their love is not going anywhere. And when I used to have anxious attachment and I started to think about Coco and Chanel and how consistent their love was, how it never faded away, how it never left me, even if I didn't talk to them for weeks or a couple of months, I knew that that love was still there. And that lifeline in looking to them and defining what love is through our interactions, it really helped me with that anxious attachment. I realized, yeah, if somebody is inconsistent and their love is very wavering, then that's not what I want love to be in my life. They can keep that somewhere else. And I would never trade my relationship with either of them for anything in the world. But this is what I mean. Who in your life feels like love? Can you pick one person or find one person in your life, whether it's your family, your friends, your coworkers, just anybody, that when you think of them, love is what you think of. And then you keep pulling on that string, right? And I hope I'm explaining it well. You keep pulling on that string until you find more people that feel like that. And that is how you start to build your own family and your own community and redefining love and what it means to you. And I will say, we cannot blame everyone and everything under the sun for the things that happened in our life. Honestly, I don't think anyone is to blame, to be honest. Granted, we should hold people accountable and even ourselves accountable for the things that we do to one another. But again, it is your responsibility at some point to heal, to grow, to reflect, to thrive, to change things. Because I oftentimes ask people, are you going to be 60 years old talking about what mommy and daddy didn't teach you when you were a child? No. Your parents are long gone in the hereafter. They are up in the heavens with the sweet Lord. And it's like you cannot blame everybody else. And again, I'm not judging, but what I'm saying is take your power back and start to redefine things in your life. What does your relationships look like romantically? What do you want them to feel like and look like? What does your relationship with money look like and feel like? Your relationship with your family, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with God. I mean, you get to define what you want these things to look like and feel like. And one could ask the question, well, why do we even love the people who hurt us in the first place? Ah, Let's get into that. It's because when you were a child, you loved your family and your parents, caregivers, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, all of whom might have hurt you. Maybe not all of them, but different individuals in the family. Or if the dynamic was just dysfunctional overall, yeah, they hurt you. And because you look to them for what love should be, you thought that this is what love is. And so you have to get tired at some point of befriending your foes and sleeping with the enemy. Let me say it again. You have to be tired of befriending your foes, i.e., your fake friends, your toxic friends, the people who smile in your face and then talk about you behind your back. You also have to be tired of sleeping with the enemy, the toxic boyfriend, the toxic husband, the toxic situationship. And for the girls who like girls, they're not excluded from this as well. You have to get tired of fucking around with people who do not fuck with you. Regardless of what you keep trying to convince yourself, you don't deserve to be hurt over and over again, especially by the same people that you love so much. That is not fair, and that is not kind to yourself. Now, this is why I stress going to therapy. I will never not go to therapy. I will never condemn it. I will never tell you not to go. Therapy is not just sitting on a couch and just talking to a stranger. It's actually going to a professional who is able to give you unbiased, professional perspective and use a myriad of tools in their arsenal that will help you become the best version of yourself. Am I saying depend solely and completely on your therapist? Absolutely not. Just like going to the doctor, I mean, you can go to the doctor for a 30-minute appointment, but if you don't actually put in the work all the other days and weeks and months of just your life, nothing is going to happen. You're just going to depend on the doctor solely to tell you what to do. And if you don't do it, then there's really no point. So it's the same thing with going to a therapist. You go to the therapist as a tool, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to help yourself because nobody can help you like you can help you. Because I've spent so much time working on my inner self and dealing with my own traumas and wounds, and I will preface this by saying, no, I'm not all the way where I need to be, but I'm not where I used to be, and that's what matters. But I can tell, just based off of someone's behavior, their actions, and their words towards me, whether or not they are wheat and they are chaff, and then I deal with them accordingly. So if you don't have a definition and a clear understanding of what love actually means to you, then anyone can just come by and tell you what love is, and you'll actually believe it. And that's why so many women are in relationships with men who are cheating on them, abusing them, manipulating them, just doing them wrong. And because that's his definition of love and she doesn't have her own, she genuinely thinks that this is love. Oh, well, I know he puts his hands on me, but he does it because he loves me. No, that's actually not love. That's abuse. Oh, well, I know he cheats on me, but men can cheat and still love. No, he does not care about your feelings, and he's also a liar and a manipulator. So those things are just not love. And honestly, it seems innocent, but again, if they have a weird definition of love and your life is now at jeopardy or your livelihood is in jeopardy, then you have to stop all of that. You get clear on your boundaries, you get clear on what love looks like and feels like to you, and you don't accept anything less than that. And before we wrap up today's episode, I have like 2 or 3 more points that I want to mention, because in all of this talk about love, there is no better love than self-love. Because again, who knows how to love you better than you do? Not only that, but only you can love yourself the way that you can, because nobody knows the intricacies of who you are and the things that are going through your mind and what it is that you really want and need more than you do. And nobody is actually going to be able to love you more than you. Like, you loving yourself is the I guess the baseline standard and foundation of all the love that you're going to receive from others. So if you don't love yourself, you can't expect other people to love you more than you love yourself. So I implore people to love themselves out loud. Love yourself proudly, loudly, and unapologetically. Prioritize yourself, all of those things, and you then teach yourself how to be loved, and you teach other people how to love you. Because again, nobody's going to love you more than you outside of like God, okay? Self love stops you from accepting anything less than you actually deserve. Self love is a gift and it opens the doorway for opportunity, for elevation, for healing, and enlightenment. And I get it because self love is a very loosely used term these days, especially with social media. Sometimes I'm like, okay, what does the bath bombs and candles and rose quartz and drinking soda pop in a champagne glass, shopping sprees? I mean, those things are nice and they're a part of self-care, but those things specifically and others have it's not necessarily an integral part of self-love. Hopefully that makes sense. Self-care is a part of self-love, but self-love is so much more than bath bombs and shopping for perfume. And I just want to make that clear. I had to take one step at a time. And in terms of what you can do to start loving yourself, I'm just going to share some of the things that I did that helped me along my journey to start loving myself. Um, so again, I had to take it one step at a time. And I had to start being a lot more attentive to myself and not be so disassociated. Because a lot of the times we just want to go through the motions and get through it as quickly as we possibly can, whether it's work, school, any situation, life in general. But once I stopped just rushing through life and ignoring myself, I actually was able to start identifying my feelings a lot better. And that leads me to the second point. I began checking in with myself and honoring my feelings and stopping to say, okay, well, how do I feel today? Am I happy? Am I sad? And in doing so, I learned how to honor my emotions because there was times where I felt guilty for feeling the things that I felt. And I was angry at myself for feeling my feelings. But all your feelings are valid, especially when you have like a good reason. Your feelings are valid. And it's okay to honor that and not take it too far. Like you're angry and you want to go like, I don't know, run over a cat or something. No, it's okay to be angry, especially when you're rightfully angry and you can express that in a safe way and honor that. And another thing I started to do was being more kind to myself. So I started doing nice things for myself and I started saying kind things to myself. So a nice thing I would do for myself is I used to buy flowers just to brighten up my space. I used to take myself out for like lunches or dinner or whatever have you. And I actually still do that to this day, going out for dinner and just spoiling myself, saying kind things to myself. I used to hate myself so much. And again, I just came from such a very emotionally tumultuous place as a young person. I used to hate myself because I didn't think that I was the standard. I didn't think that I was special in any kind of way. I used to get picked on because I was darker skinned. And I also used to get picked on because I was a little chubby. And I believe that those things defined me. So people would say the most hurtful things about me and the way that I looked based off of my skin tone. And I kind of internalized that. I can remember being in middle school and like looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself, you're so ugly. You're a monster. And that continued on for a very long time, especially in middle school and early high school, of just hating who I was and being very harsh and critical to myself. But when I started to say kind things to myself and reaffirm myself, because when you're saying mean things to yourself, you're actually saying those things to your inner child. And I know that you wouldn't say those things to anybody else's child. Why then say it to your inner child, right? So think of it this way. You are your inner child. And when you are speaking to your inner child, i.e. yourself, are you going to be a harsh, mean, and cruel adult to your inner child? Or are you going to be kind and loving and nurturing and reaffirming? So yes, doing kind things and saying kind things to myself. I also started to take self-care a lot more seriously. And it's not just bubble baths. I started taking care of my mental health. I started going to therapy, as I mentioned before. I started improving my personal hygiene. And so many women, they grow up in situations where they don't necessarily learn a lot about personal hygiene. They're just winging it. And so I started taking my personal hygiene a lot more seriously. And I focused more on bettering my relationship with food and movement instead of just punishing myself for eating through cruel and unusual diets. Another thing I started to do was set boundaries and saying no to people a lot more. And if you need more insight, please go check out the previous episode where I dive into people pleasing and how you can find your inner bitch. And one more thing before I move on, I also started to reflect. I was more willing to lean into myself and do, if you call it shadow work, where I would do journal prompts that kind of help me with my inner childhood trauma. I would think back to times in my life or in my childhood where I was going through a situation or a tough time, and I would simply speak to myself as the adult that I needed back then. Of course, you can do so many other things and find what works for you, but these things and so much more have changed my life beyond recognition. And I don't force myself to be around people who don't like me anymore. I don't allow men to play games with me. And I don't allow disrespect into my life. I don't overextend myself or, run myself into the ground to feel loved or accepted. And I want you ladies to know that reflection brings enlightenment. Again, reflection brings enlightenment. Last but not least, this leads me to my final point, which is understanding God's love and how it opens us up to a new dimension of peace and joy. So God's love, it's merciful, it is graceful, it's full of compassion, and it really defines what love truly is. I mean, God's love, it's protective, it is consistent. It goes beyond our human ability to even conceptualize what love is. And I always knew that God loved me, but it wasn't until recently where I started taking intentional time to sit with the Lord and do prayer and worship in spirit and in truth, where I could physically feel the depth of love that God has for me. And all I can do in those moments is just cry and tell him that I love him, because the love that I was looking for all those years, I found it. I finally found it. After I searched high and low and up and down and side to side and everywhere and in everyone, I actually found it in him. I found it in the Lord. And so I always implore people to explore your relationship with God, because he can really show you some things that you never experienced before. And he can give you the things that you have been searching for so long. And I just want to say that the Bible is true when it says in Romans 8 that I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from the love of God. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow, not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. No power in the sky above or here on earth below, indeed nothing in all of creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Christ Jesus our Lord. I want you to know that God loves you. Like he loves you more than you can actually think or conceive or imagine. And it doesn't say that you are fearfully and wonderfully created for no reason. God is invested He literally loves you so much. And it's like he knows the number of hairs on your head. He knows the amount of tears that you have cried in your lifetime. He knows everything about you, and he is so invested. And it's just so deep. I'm like getting choked up on the fact that, I cannot marginalize or compartmentalize, rather, just the depth of love that God really has for you. And so many people actually believe that love is only romantic. And that's why they can never be single for far too long. If they're not in a relationship, it means that they are not loved. But that's a lie. There are actually so many different types of love, and I'm going to share some of them with you. So there's philia, and yes, I did write it down because some of these are kind of hard to pronounce. So there's philia, and that's love between friends. There's eros love, that's physical love, lust or passion. There's agape, that's selfless and unconditional love. Pragmatic, it is love that emphasizes practicality and realism over passion. Do not crucify me here, but I'm going to try to say it. Philatia, I don't know, but it's self-love. And it is believed to be the prerequisite of loving others, because if you don't love yourself, how can you love others? And how can you be loved by others? There is storage. It's family love. So the love that you have for a child or for a parent. There's ludus, playful love. And that's usually like that puppy love phase that's in the beginning of a relationship. And I wouldn't consider mania to be love per se. I think it's just obsession, but you get the point. There are so many other types of love outside of romantic love. And even beyond that, you can see it. Like for me, I know that when my dog climbs into my bed and he's like cuddled up to me in the middle of the night, I feel that, and I know that that's love. When I see children playing with one another and laughing and having a good time, that's love to me. When I get a hug from my mom and she just holds me and all the cares in the world just go out the window. When my little sister holds my hand and me and her are laughing, like, it's all love. So when you start to expand your definition of love, you'll start to realize that you are already loved, and you don't have to search for it in everything and everyone outside of yourself. God has done for me so many things, and I feel it when I even honor and acknowledge myself and who I am. I'm so thankful to God for who I am. And that's what I'm saying. You really have to open up and start redefining what love is, so you can actually find the beauty that is in life. And I want you to know that, again, nothing in all of creation can ever separate you from the love of God. And the one thing that I feel like God wants us to know is that not only does He love you, but He sends people in your life to love you. And He puts you in their lives to love them. So it's all love at the end of the day. And He shows up. God, He shows up every day. And He loves you in the way that He protects us every day. Or He protects you and me. By the way, He comforts us in, times of distress, how He provides for us in our times of need. He loves you because He's committed to you. He loved you so much that He was actually willing to die for you. So, I just want you to know that love is so much bigger than just relationships. And you have the power and the ability to actually redefine it and define it for what you want to define it as. And of course, before we close up, I want to give you some affirmations that really helped me along my journey of healing. To redefine what love is and to start feeling love for myself within myself. So you can say these affirmations to yourself or modify them to fit your life and make sure it, resonates with you. And I always tell people that affirmations are just another form of cognitive behavioral therapy, where you are essentially rewiring your brain or rewiring your mind and replacing old beliefs with new ones. So grab a pen and let's get to it. Number 1, I am loved and I am love. I am loved and I am love. Number 2, self You are enough for my love. Number 3, other people loving me is not my concern because I love myself. Number 4, obviously, I love myself. Number 5, I am so happy to be me and I love myself just the way that I am. Number 6, I accept myself in my entirety. I accept myself in my entirety. Number 7, I love the person I am. Number 8, I am so worthy of love and I accept nothing less. Number 9, I am so talented. I'm really amazing. Number 10, I acknowledge how beautiful and unique I am. Number 11, I am so happy to be surrounded and filled with love. I am grateful. And number 12, God loves me and I love him. What more do I need? So, with that being said, lovely ladies, remember that you are loved and you better own it. If love is not on the table, do not sit and do not eat. And if nothing else, know that God loves you and I love you. So join the party and love yourself. As always, thanks for tuning in, of course. And be sure to follow the podcast on Apple and on Spotify to get notifications on new episodes. If you want to connect, you can follow me on my Instagram at Femme Fatale Sorority. That's FEMMEFATALE sorority all together. And I would say I'll give you my TikTok, but TikTok is going away. But that's okay. You can follow me on Fanbase as well at Alyssa K, ELYSSAK, and that's on Fanbase. And just remember to follow, engage, and leave comments and reviews on any platform that you're on. So I hope you lovely ladies enjoyed today's episode. And always remember that you are loved, that you are blessed, so blessed. And girl, I got you.